Sony is a huge name in consumer electronics, but increasingly Xiaomi is also making quite an impact on the world of consumer electronics, and they both make smartphones. Today we're going to be testing the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II against the Poco F2 Pro. Which one do you think was going to win? Well, let's find out. So we have the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II with the Snapdragon 865 on the left-hand side. Of course, it's got that interesting aspect ratio, which means it actually has a screen resolution of 1096, not 1080, 1096 by 2560. On the right-hand side, we have the Poco F2, also the Snapdragon 865, with a much more normal or common screen resolution at 1080p. And as I'm saying that, both devices are now into the compression test. They're zipping up files and unzipping them, testing both the CPU power to zip and unzip, and also the internal storage. As I said that, we've just got into the 16 thread. There's a slight lead at this point by the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II. Is this really going to be what we see all the way through? Just a slight lead by the Sony, or is the Poco going to be able to show us something maybe a little later on, maybe in the GPU test, as we are already now into the mixed CPU GPU part of the test, doing both GPU and CPU heavy tasks, and we are into the infinite scrolling list. And coming up next is the particle test, the smoke particle test. Let's see what frame rate we get on the left and on the right to see whether any different. 28 frames a second there, 29, 28, 29, so pretty much the same, but still the Sony was the first into Unity test, and it's building up quite a lead now because there was a bit of a lag there before the test started. The test is running well on the F2 Pro, however it was just slightly behind as now the Sony gets to the end of the valley. It's now starting the Unreal test, so will it get to the end of the forest first? My feeling at this point is yes, it will. I don't think the Poco's been able to catch up, though it's doing pretty well, but no, there you go, 1 minute 26.9 and 1 minute 29.1. Okay, let's break down the scores and see exactly what happened. So as we saw there, a convincing win by the Sony, 126.9, and then 2.2 seconds later came in the Poco F2 Pro, 1 minute 29.1. We look at the CPU time, 37.5 versus 38.7. That is a 1.2 second difference in the favor of the Sony. When we get to mixed CPU, GPU, pretty much equal there, 23.0 versus 23.1, not much to say there. However, when we get to the GPU test, 26.3 for the Sony, a win there by the Sony compared to 27.2 for the Poco. So when you add up those wins by the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II, it is the overall winner, 1 minute 26.9.